Hello, my name is Michael Bertels. I work as a project leader for the Netherlands National Association for Fire Services. I'd like to tell you something about verification and confirmation of automatic alarmed calls. Well, let me start by telling you something about fire propagation. So I might have a fire that starts in an object, and the heat from that fire might ignite the room, and the heat from the fire in the room might ignite the building, and thus the fire propagates. Now, something caused the fire in the object, so there's a stage before object on fire, and basically this is something that gets too hot, versus scorching. And a fire detection installation has been designed to detect the smoke, to be triggered by the smoke that is caused by the scorching phase. So, in this stage of fire propagation, so before the object is on fire, I have the scorching phase, and I have a real or verified fire alarm. Well, besides the real and verified fire alarms, I have false alarms. And we distinguish between false alarms caused by equipment, caused by deceptive situations, so something that actually looks like a fire, and caused by human error, either malicious or good intent. Now let me further look at these three causes of false alarms, because I would like to distinguish between faults in use of the installation and faults in design of the installation. Now suppose old man is living in a care home and his hobby is to solder electric circuits. So he starts soldering in the living room. But he's not supposed to do that because the smoke detector will be triggered by the soldering. So this is a deceptive false alarm caused by the wrongful use of the building and the installation. However, if the same happens in a soldering workshop, so I have a soldering or a welding workshop, and the smoke detector is triggered, then actually the fire installation was not designed properly, because the person who designed and installed the fire installation should have known that soldering is happening in a soldering workshop, so he should have used a different design for the fire installation. And you can actually distinguish this for all three types of false alarms. Well, I won't go into details into these 6 subcategories. But in my safety region, we have collected some statistics, and less than 5% of all alarm calls that we receive correspond to a real alarm, and about 50% is due to faulty use, another 50% is due to faulty design of the fire detection installation. Now let's have another look at the propagation of fire. So given the fact that less than 5% of my fire calls are real or verified. The scorching is a situation that might lead to object on fire, but in case of scorching, the user must intervene and help of the fire service is not required. You could even say, if an object is on fire, the user could still use the fire hose that is installed and extinguish the object himself. And only when the fire propagates beyond the object, urgent need of the fire service is needed. And based on statistics in the Netherlands, this is actually in very few situations in case we receive an alarm. So remember, the real alarm or the verified alarm was caused by scorching, and only 2 steps later the fire service help is needed. Well, I can introduce a stage in between where one could say that the fire was confirmed, so there's really an object on fire. In that case, I don't mind that you call the fire service because there's a fire, it's real, the fire has been confirmed. I don't mind go there at high priority and help the user, even though he might be able to put it out himself. But I really don't want to receive any calls from real scorching or verified scorching, because in that situation the user can solve his problems himself. Now, to come to a conclusion, verification of alarm is useful for the user because the user can prevent all these false alarms from happening. And false alarms also will interrupt the process at the user. So you might have to evacuate your cinema or shop, or you might have to evacuate your patients or customers. So it's very useful for a user to have verification of a fire alarm. However, this is not enough. For the fire service, additional confirmation that there's really a fire happening is needed before calling the emergency services. And this confirmation could be done by a human, or perhaps it could be done by additional equipment in the fire detection installation. Thank you very much for your attention. My contact details are on the first slide.